promised, it has been a very busy day of Saturday sports. It's Super Saturday after all, and as I promised you guys, I'd be here to talk all things the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix and the return of the F1 sprint for the first time this season. And what a sprint it was indeed if you are a Red Bull and Max Verstappen fan, because the defending world champion at long last has a little bit of luck go his way. He ended up winning the sprint thanks to a very nice overtaking move late in the sprint race. He managed to get past Charles Leclerc and then hold on to that position right there at the end. And, well, that means he's starting the race on pole position. Very important, considering that Imola does sometimes be a little difficult for drivers. It makes it a little difficult for drivers to actually overtake as much. So, very big win for him. Obviously, Ferrari would be disappointed that they did not manage to hang on to this and actually manage to take another pole position, because all over the weekend they did look like the faster car, as both Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz were setting fastest time after fastest time. But that's the beauty of the sprint. It doesn't matter if you were the fastest over a single lap. What does indeed matter sometimes is how quickly or how slowly you go at a given time on the track and over the course of 21 laps, as we saw in this case. Obviously, there's disappointment for other teams, because if you're a Mercedes fan, oh boy, close your eyes, because Hamilton all the way down in 15th, George Russell all the way down in 11th, not the place that, their fans would have been expected them to start, even though they weren't great in qualifying. There was absolutely no way that they could get through the field. I mean, if you remember the last sprint that happened before this one, Lewis Hamilton absolutely tore his way through the field in order to get into a decent starting position, set up a very memorable win in Brazil. It didn't quite happen this time for them, but obviously that was not going to be the case, mainly because their car hasn't been up to scratch. Technical Bate, I say hi to you. I have indeed taken your name. Redactor Chetty says Sainz also had a good recovery drive. I absolutely agree. But what most people will not be talking about is Sainz's drive. The simple fact that he is outside of the top three. The top three is Verstappen on first, Leclerc in second, and Sergio Perez in third. And it's a great drive for the Red Bull drivers, because they get to start first and third. They can actually put some kind of pressure on Charles Leclerc, who is pretty much the runaway leader at this point of the F1 championship. But the key for any recovery that Red Bull may or may not have would be how reliable is their car. Freaking Beast asked me how many races are there. Well, there's going to be 23 races this year, and 3 have already happened. So including the Imola one, they have 20 races left. So if you're a Verstappen fan, not really the time to be losing heart, because there's still a ways to go in this particular season. But again, as I said, the key question is going to be how reliable is that Red Bull car. Because the main problem with them hasn't been pace. It has been whether or not their car can go the distance. I mean, if you look at how, the 2022 season has started, I mean, in the first race at Bahrain, Red Bull crashed out. Both of their drivers ended up not finishing. In Saudi Arabia, they did end up getting a half-decent result, because, you had Mr. Verstappen win the race. But when it came down to the race at the third race at Australia, Charles Leclerc was in prime supreme form. He drove a flawless race. Verstappen once again afflicted by problems with his car, and he had to retire. So he will hope that that doesn't necessarily happen this weekend, both him and Perez, because otherwise it's going to be another gimme for the Ferrari drivers. As we said, Sainz is fourth in the standings this time around. So, I think they would hope that Sainz can continue the drive the way he's been driving. Maybe get past Perez, put some pressure on Verstappen if Leclerc isn't going to be the person who's able to do it. Love Rami says, this season the main center of focus has been Max and Leclerc. Absolutely. Because Mercedes has produced a car that is not a championship winning or even a race winning car at this point. So the focus has, of course, been on 2 young Turks in Leclerc and Verstappen. And Leclerc has been seen by many as a champion in the waiting. He's just finally got the car that he can deliver in. Fans of his and Ferrari will no doubt be hoping that he can end that drought which Ferrari have been going through, because the last World Championship they won was in 2007. So obviously that's been too long that Ferrari have not been able to win a world title. But anyway, speaking of the rest of the results in the sprint, obviously McLaren would be the team happiest with how the sprint went outside of the top two, because Lando Norris finished in fifth and will be starting fifth tomorrow, and Daniel Ricciardo has finished sixth in the championship, and not the championship, sorry, in this sprint. And whereas for the other teams, you had Haas with both Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen being up and abouts in the top 10. And, Bottas, Valtteri Bottas, who's had a pretty quietly good year at Alfa Romeo thus far. Well, he finished in seventh. In eighth was Kevin Magnussen. Fernando Alonso finished in ninth. Redactor Cherry said the porpoising effect is mental for Mercedes this season. Love it from McLaren follower. As a Mercedes follower, I absolutely hate it. But I mean, I have to agree, their car has been porpoising very violently, and it has not been able to get out the best in terms of performance. Although they have been reliable, but they're not anywhere close to the top two on peak form. That I have to agree with. So obviously, as you guys know, if you watch my explainer on how sprints are going to be different, the top, 8 would be getting points. So obviously Verstappen gets 8, Leclerc 7, Perez 6, Sainz 4, and the likes up till the top 8. So the person who finished 8 was of course Kevin Magnussen. So he gets the final point, and well, the sprint race was again a bit problematic because, like the Friday qualifying in this case, it was afflicted by a lot of stoppages, cars sliding. There was a bit of stoppages in the race. There was an early safety car, which is always not ideal in the slightest. But overall, you'd say that the sprint did its job. It's given us a bit of an interesting, grid for tomorrow. Of course, the key factor will be, if the key battle outside of the top 10 is going to be how the Mercedes cars do. Again, George Russell in 11th, Lewis Hamilton in 14th. Will they be able to get those key overtakes in? Or will they be reliant on cars ahead of them not finishing? I guess that's something that we will only know tomorrow. So, of course, the race, as we know, this time is on Sunday. And Imola last year saw Lewis Hamilton finish second. I think Mercedes would bite off someone's arm if they could get a second place finish this time around. But it does look like the battle is very much going to be between the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, and that's how the season has panned this far. I think that's how the season will continue to pan until one of the other teams, be it Mercedes, be it McLaren, be it even the Haas's or Alfa Romeos, maybe bring something that would take them to the next level. Will those upgrades be coming? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, this year the rate of development is going to be at a rate of knots because it's a new car and there's going to be a lot of changes being made. But as of now, it seems like, I agree with that comment, by the way, from BH Karthik, where you said that they stopped upgrading last year from mid-year only to make this car, and it's actually not lived up to expectation. But, that's the case with a lot of cars. I mean, even Aston Martin, they're one of the first teams. In fact, I would not say Aston Martin, I would say Haas. They pretty much gave up on the season from the get-go. They didn't upgrade their car at all. Aston Martin didn't upgrade their car at all. A lot of teams hedged their bets on being able to make a jump in 2022, but that hasn't really happened. But anyway, I think I've gone on long enough for now. I'm gonna catch you guys tomorrow after the race finishes, because obviously there's going to be plenty of things that I think we will be able to talk about. It's set up for a very, very, it's set up for a very interesting finish, simply because I think Leclerc has been the runaway leader till this point. Verstappen finally has a chance to get back another win, maybe. But again, as I always said, we have to keep an eye on how reliable that Red Bull will be. It's going to be an interesting subplot, so do join me tomorrow. If you guys have joined me today, thank you very much. I appreciate all the love that's coming. Thank you, Love Rami, that you love to hear my analysis. I enjoy sharing it with you guys, so I'm really glad to see that I'm getting some positive feedback. But again, I'm done for now, so thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, comment. I do read all of your comments, as do all of us, even if we're not always able to reply. Share it with your friends if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I mean, why haven't you if you haven't? And secondly, please subscribe. We'd love for you to be part of our family. As always, I've been Shane Dias, and I thank you guys so much. I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.